Oh boy, Mukuro just kinda changes everything for Shiranui, huh? This video is sponsored by Phoenix Pharos Cards. If you need supplies of singles or splits for Cardfight Vanguard, especially the ones in the video, do check out Phoenix Pharos Cards today, and as a bonus, use the promo code MetaNerd to get an amazing 5% discount. And with that being said, let's get on with the video. Greetings YouTube, welcome back to the MetaNerd channel. I am Marcus, bringing you another video for Cardfight Vanguard Willdress. In this video, we'll be wrapping up all of the cards that was revealed for Shiranui Deckset. Every single card for Luard Deckset has already been reviewed in the last video, so we're not really going to go into Luard as much today, but we will be wrapping out the remaining cards for Shiranui. Of course, the main card that we'll be covering is going to be Mukuro, because, you know, Mukuro is just a very disgusting card. Shiranui as an overall is just like the more powerful deck out of these two stride decks. It's just mind-blowing how different their power level are. It's just really good. Without further ado, let's take a look at how broken Shiranui will get, as well as what are the possible card options that we have for both Shiranui as well as Luard. First off, we have Stealth Dragon Tenrei. Although when this unit is placed on Rigor Circle, if you have a Vanguard with Demon Stealth Dragon, Shiranui Oboro Crest, cost Counterblast 1 and draw a card. Second skill, Auto Rigor Circle. When the attack by a unit dominated by you hits, you may return this unit to hand. This is a really amazing card inside Shiranui deck. It's the kind of like the main source of drawing cards and therefore replenish the hand size for Shiranui. Since the deck doesn't actually use a lot of Counterblast, the only skills that is basically using Counterblast is the Grade 2 Genkai as well as Bagun Tembu. So for the rest of the turn, if you don't use those two, you basically doesn't use a lot of Counterblast. So this card is actually a really good way for you to dump your Counterblast on, provided of course you keep calling Tenrei out from the hand. Not only is this card able to draw you cards, you are able to just put on some aggression on the grade 1 turn, if of course you are going seconds, since the crest will be available as soon as you ride into the grade 1. However, if of course you will want to reuse this card again, you will need to wait until you start striding, and if the dominated unit attack hits, only then this unit is able to return to the hand, which of course could then allows you to just call him down the next turn to Counterblast 1 and draw 1. It's just really nice inside this deck. I think this is one of the more stapler cards inside this deck, unless of course there is much more broken card of this card being revealed for the future booster sets, but I highly doubt that Bushiroad is gonna give even more stupid stuff for Shiranui, judging by how strong Shiranui is currently looking. Very nice card, to be honest. Next card, we have Stealth Dragon Fuurai. Continuous Rigor Circle. This unit gets 5k power for each time a unit dominated by you attack this turn. Second skill, Auto Rigor Circle Generation Break 1. When your Vanguard attacks, if a unit dominated by you attack this turn, cost Soul Blast 1 and stand this unit. This is quite possible for this card to actually gain between 10k and 15k per turn, depends on who you are striding. On top of the power gained by dominated unit attack, this unit is also another restander for Shiranui, which will allow Shiranui to make a total of 7 attacks. I mean, previously, before this card, people are still running Esperadia. With this card into the mix, I don't think there's a point in you running Esperadia anymore, thanks to, you know, this card being the same function as Esperadia, and judging from the fact that Esperadia is gonna reprint in the triple drive booster, it's not looking good. However, of course, once again, since this is costing soul, the soul usage still stays the same. You're just replacing Fuurai in place of Esperadia. So yeah, soul usage is still going to be really high, and thanks to Mukuro costing another soul blast, you will be using 3 souls per turn, which I don't think you will have enough soul if you want to keep up that 7 attacks without any soul charge. But don't worry, I think there is sufficient amount of support that revolves around you gaining more souls, either from the deck or the drop zone or somewhere else. It's just really nice to be introduced inside this deck, which we will talk about later. Last but not least is the main boss unit form, Evil Eyes Hades Emperor Shiranui Mukuro, and he's a grade 4, and of course all the stride skills and everything. The main skill is Dominate, active Vanguard Circle once per turn. Generation Break 2, cost Soul Blast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguard, stand and dominate it, and it attacks your opponent's Vanguard, and it attacks your opponent's Vanguard. At the end of that battle, stand and dominate all of your opponent's Vanguard, and they attack your opponent's rearguard, and they attack your opponent's rearguard. Once one of the battle ends, the next battle begins. Perform drive check with your own drives. So Mukuro is basically the same as always, like the OG, which of course there is an extra dominate rearguard attack before you even dominate the Vanguard. So very, very nice indeed. And what's more, any continuous or auto skill will be lost thanks to, of course, the crest being a thing inside Shiranui. As you guys have been memeing really hard these past few days, ever since Mukuro is being confirmed, and people even goes to the length of asking this question. Yes, Greedent will automatically die the moment Mukuro dominates Greedent, and Greedent of course is at 6 damage. While I am very sad that's the case, but it doesn't mean that it is an auto loss for Greedent, because keep in mind here is that the exact point for Greedent to auto lose by striding into Mukuro is the moment Mukuro dominates Greedent itself, and Greedent needs to be at 6 damage, only then it is an auto loss. What this means here is that before Mukuro dominates Greedent, the Greedent player must ensure that he stays at 5 damage before Mukuro dominates Greedent. So just keep in mind here is that at the start of your Shiranui's turn, if the Greedent player is at 5 damage, the Greedent player has to guard the 2 dominant attacks that is going to be swinging his way. If he takes even 1 damage, of course he will lose, but if he guards 2 of those dominated rearguard attack, then he should be safe. And it will not result in auto loss as well for the Greedent player if the Greedent player takes a 6 damage after Mukuro dominates the Vanguard. The dominate status will end as soon as the battle is done for that dominated unit. Greedent will no longer be dominated after he attacks. It's not automatically a auto lose for Greedent. I want to point this out because I'm starting to get the feeling that people are misunderstanding on why other people are saying Greedent is auto lose to Shiranui. It's not the case. Shiranui has an extra win con against Greedent, which is not really good, but at the same time it's pretty much avoidable. Do let me know down in the comment section if you think this is correct, or you think that people are misunderstanding the whole interaction between Mukuro and Greedent. Back to Mukuro here. The twin drive that you make from the opponent's Vanguard attack is just really good. It powers up your own board like really disgusting. Your own board is gonna hit for like 5 attacks, provided if both of your front row is the restander, and not to mention of the crash power bonus. It's just really disgusting. It's just power after power after power, and this is not taking into the fact that Mukuro is gonna triple drive as well. it's just stupid. So Mukuro, nothing really much. He's very straightforward, except the fact that we do need to brush up in terms of how the ruling works, how dominate works, as well as some of the outside the box interaction that we currently have for Cardfight Vanguard. I don't think there's a lot, but still there is enough for people to kind of dispute, I would say. So that's all for Shiranui. We wrap up every single thing for Luard as well as Shiranui. What I want to do the next is, of course, talking about the card options that you could run for Shiranui. Of course, the deck is perfectly fine if you want to buy it and straight play it out of the box. It's perfectly fine, but it could be better with all of these options that I mentioned. There might be more options that you could consider running inside the deck, but I think these are the more important pieces for you to consider running inside the deck. First off, for Shiranui is of course going to be this grade 2 Brachial Force. This grade 2 is actually really great in terms of, you know, counter rushing the opponent. As we all know, since this is a stride deck set, they will only start to do their stuff starting from the stride turn, meaning either turn 3 or turn 4. So they're kind of vulnerable to a very aggressive opponent. For example, My Go is a thing, as well as Leonorn with all the token superior calling. They are going to be really vulnerable to early game pressure. So Brachial Force is there to kind of offset the pressure just a little bit, because whenever this unit attack hit, you are able to just retire itself to draw 1 and retire one of the opponent's cards. So this card is really good in terms of kind of counter rush the opponent, as well as start removing the opponent's board piece by piece. This card I think is a really good option to be run in Shiranui, especially if you're going against a mirror match between Shiranui and Shiranui. This card does make a difference. I'm telling you that. The next card, of course, is going to be everyone's favorite Sodo Doji grade 2 as the right line. All of the stuff within the Shiranui deck set has stealth in their name. So by running the grade 2 Sodo Doji instead of Genkai in the right line is really good. It allows you to gain 1 soul as well as superior call one of your pieces to the board. Is really nice, but I am not really a supporter for you of Shiranui players running this card here. The reason here is that if you run this grade 2 Soto Doji as the right line, it means that you run the risk of your Magun Tembu turn, your first strike turn being not doing anything. The reason here is that the moment the opponent saw you riding into this, he can just not call anything. Provided if you go second, that Magun Tembu turn is just gone. Not necessary to the effect of gone. It's just that whole turn is just doing nothing. You can't dominate anything because there's no rear guard, and you could not superior call a rear guard from the drop zones because Genkai is not there. Genkai is there to just helps you like play around the opponent not calling anything, as well as providing whatever dominant unit attacks the 10k power, which I think is much more better than grade 2 Soto Doji. Well, yes, it does filters out 2 cards from the deck and giving you 1 soul and a rear guard, but I think the value for Genkai is much more better than Soto Doji. It's just my personal opinion. Nonetheless, it is an option for you to run. I'm not going to stop you from running Soto Doji. It's just you need to understand the risk of you bricking or whiffing your whole Magun Tembu turn is just too great. Next up is of course the grade 3 generic dragon that every single nation has. This grade 3 is just really nice since, you know, the other stealth dragon Shiranui inside the set is not really doing as much, and the difference between that card and this card is like a 5k power. You can just sacrifice the 5k power for a board control. And not only that, if you discard this card during the turn 3 you ride into Shiranui, you get to draw 1, as opposed to, you know, you can only draw 1 from striding with the other Shiranui card in the deck set. This card can be considered after, you know, every single more important stuff has been put into the deck, and if you have the space for it, of course you can go ahead and run this card. This is the only other card that is able to kind of board retire. Definitely very nice. Last but not least is of course all of the great ones that basically provides you soul resources. I listed down 4 cards because all 4 of this card kind of do the same thing. It's just how you want to soul charge them, as well as the different restriction that they have. The Soto Doji Great One here is basically the same thing as Forktail. Both these Great One, you just call and then you just put 1 stealth unit from the top of the deck or the drop and then just put it into the soul. Both of these are really good, but it's just how you will want to, you know, gain the soul out of it, from the top deck or from the drop. Of course, the dinosaur here, the Great One dinosaur, is almost the same thing, but when he's on place, if you have a higher grade than the opponent, which you usually are during your strike turn, you are able to soul charge 2. As opposed to the other 2 Great Ones, this Great One is able to give you more soul resources for you to keep on spamming the restanders as well as Mukuro's skill. It is an option. The other most expensive choices is that lady above me right here is the promo card. This card by far is the more broken one because not only is she giving you a soul by putting herself into a soul, she is a 13k attacker while draws you a card as well. This card is just going to be the most expensive option and might not be accessible for the English side. It's gonna cost a fortune thanks to Shiranui skyrocketing this card's price. It's just literally insane. So these are the options that I think can be considered running inside the deck. Some of them are just either this or that, but these are all solid options that you could consider running inside your Shiranui deck. Luard is of course a different story. For Luard, as we all know, Luard needs to focus on running as much ritual units as possible because of Dragstrider Luard needing you to add ritual 7, and you can only superior call ritual units. But of course there are still like some pieces of options that you could run for Luard. The first and foremost is of course this grade 2. This grade 2 has been hiking up in price. I see people like putting up a ridiculous amount of this card out for sale the moment Luard was revealed. This card allows you to just soul blast 1 and discard the card to get whatever clan card from the drop into the hand. Why this is important is that almost all of the cards within Luard has the Shadow Paladin. This does includes the PG. So the main function is just calling this card down to just recycle the PG back to hand. And you don't really care about the discard part because you can just discard 1 grade 1 or 1 critical trigger, because those grade 1 as well as critical trigger is just gonna go back to the bottom of the deck thanks to Luard and the Crash skill. So this card is going to be a very nice tech in option. It's not a must to run. It is a really good keep on fueling your ritual count as well as, you know, recycle some stuff. Next of course is going to be these 2 grade 1. These 2 grade 1s are there to just kind of fuel your drop zones with grade 1 in order to, you know, fulfill the ritual requirement. Painkiller of course is without a doubt going to be the best one, because not only are you soul blasting 1 and retire herself, she's a grade 1, and you are able to draw 1, which of course does allows you to be more aggressive in the early game. The grade 1 magazine promo here is also kind of do the same thing. It's just that this card is a 13k booster. He do need to retire himself, but the extra benefit of this card is that he's able to check the top 2 and put 1 to to hand and 1 to the bottom of the deck, which kinda in a sense draws you a card. And these 2 are a great one, and since they just die by themselves, it's just really good in terms of fueling the ritual cost. Next card that I would like to talk about is of course going to be Maple. Maple, without a doubt, is going to be one of the more broken cards that Cater Sanctuary will have and have access to. Whenever you ride grade 3, you are able to superior call her from the drop. This does include striding as well, since striding is technically still in the ride phase. She's basically like a free cost for you to, you know, counterblast 1 and to use her as a cost for the stride skill. She's just really good, and you don't need to discard a card to revive Liaofao right line from the drop. So this card is just free real estate for Luard. And that is all for this video. Do let me know down in the comment section of what you think of both the stride deck, Luard as well as Shiranui. Shiranui looks to be the most broken one as compared to Luard, but Luard of course is not something you should be lowering your guard for, because Drug Strider Luard is just an insane card. If you don't have the Blitz PG, it's basically GG. Do like and subscribe if you like this video, and of course during the bell notification icon so that you don't miss a video I upload. With that being said, I'll see you all on the field.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.